I just got out of the theaters where I got to see The Order 2024 on the big screen, and I have some positives, some negatives that I want to talk about for this film, guys. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the movie review. Let's go. The Order is a crime thriller directed by Justin Kurzel that takes place in the 1980s and is based on a true story where a string of violent robberies in the Pacific Northwest lead veteran FBI agent Terry Husk to a white supremacist group that plans to overthrow the federal government. So as you can imagine, this film is more of a history lesson where you are going over real events that actually took place and real people from history, with also some racial tension inside of this film, which could intimidate some more sensitive viewers from watching this film, but quite honestly it didn't bother me too much. So with that being said, let's go ahead and begin this review with my positives for The Order 2024. And my first positive with this film would have to be the concept. I love the fact that this is based on a true story. I love the fact that this is based on historical events, and we have already an outline and a rubric to follow while we make this film and while we go through the story and explore the characters inside of this film. Now, the main plot in this film is centered around the FBI hunting down this white supremacist terrorist organization by the name of The Order. And going in to watch this film, I actually had no previous knowledge to any of this information, so it was actually quite educational. I definitely did some research before bringing you guys this review, so I did appreciate the concept of this film. And another positive that I had with The Order is our protagonist and lead FBI agent for this film working on this case is Terry Husk, played by Jude Law. Now, I'm not familiar with previous works from Jude Law, but I have to say he did a fantastic job as the lead, as the protagonist inside of this film. He plays this jaded law enforcement who has had tragic events happen in the past due to actions that he's taken while working with an informant for the FBI. So because of that, going into this case, he already is more on edge and more aware about the dangers that can happen while targeting an organization such as this one. Now, I enjoyed his performance and portrayal of this character. He's very brooding and almost takes on a father figure role for his younger partner that's working on this case with him, and I thought this was a good way to approach this character by Jude Law. Now, another positive I had with this film was our antagonist, our villain inside of this film, the leader of the white supremacist organization, played by Nicholas Hoult. He is playing the character of Bob Matthews inside of this movie. Now, as I stated, this was based on a true story, so Robert J. Matthews was the real leader of the Order and was an American neo-Nazi, so a character like that just gives Nicholas Hoult all the reins to bring out an amazing performance here. This has been my favorite performance from Nicholas Hoult that I've seen so far. The last film that I seen from him was Renfield, where that's more of a comedic film, so I appreciated getting to see, a more serious approach to film from Nicholas Hoult and getting to see how he would take on such a role such as Bob Matthews inside of this film. Now, he's easily the most interesting part of this entire movie. I mean, the entire movie is based around him and what he's doing and his ideology and the moves he's making. A lot of this film, they're robbing banks and forming and running this cult organization. So getting to see Hoult go to these levels of darkness that I haven't seen him go to in his career before was fascinating, and I definitely appreciated his role inside of this film. Now, for my final positive for The Order, I would have to go with the cinematography inside of this film and the real set locations. I appreciated that they filmed a lot of these scenes on site, not exactly where they said it was inside of the movie, but I mean in a real location with an actual environment out in nature. A lot of this film takes place out in nature, so getting to see the lush greens come to life and certain shots that they chose to go with of the landscape, that was all amazing to see inside of this movie. And with that being said, that would wrap up my positives for The Order, and now I want to transition more into my negatives for The Order 2024. And for my first negative of this film, it would have to relate back to my first positive of this film, that being the concept. Now, while I love the concept of this film, I love the fact that it's based on a true story, I have to say the execution of this concept was very poorly done. They took such an interesting story to base a movie on and to tell a new story about, and they watered it down. It comes off quite uninteresting when you watch this movie. The only interesting scenes inside of this entire movie happen to be when gunfire is happening and when action scenes are happening, which is strange because this is not supposed to be really an action film. It's more supposed to be, you know, a drama where we're going over the case and trying to figure out how we're going to catch these criminals. And yes, the action is sprinkled in there and it is very good, very interesting, but everything surrounding that and everything leading up to these big action scenes is boring as hell. Which, speaking of boring, this entire film as a whole is slow. It's dragged out from the beginning of this film to the end of this movie. The pacing is terrible. They did a bad job with keeping the audience interested, keeping the audience on its toes, making you take interest in the events and the things that are going on inside of this film. It's quite hard to take interest when you're sitting there bored out of your mind. I mean, I would say there's about 4 action scenes where it really makes you perk up in your chair and, okay, let me fully pay attention to what's going on, but everything surrounding that and outside of that, boring. They failed to make the audience care about what is going on whatsoever. Now, the fact that this film is an hour and 55 minutes, not long at all, that's an easy breeze at the theater, yet it feels as long as it does. It's just a testament to the fact of how bad the pacing actually is inside of this movie. Now, with that being said, that pretty much wraps up my negatives for The Order, so let's transition. Let's move into my overall review for The Order 2024. Now, as I stated, I had no idea what I was getting myself into with this film. I didn't do any research before going to watch this movie, which a lot of the time I feel makes for the best viewing experiences because I don't have any preconceived ideas of what this movie can and should be. And because of that, I get to give you guys my honest take on what I just witnessed on that theater screen. Now, overall, guys, like I stated, this was an amazing concept, a brilliant story to want to make a film on with a terrible execution, great cinematography, yet a painstakingly slow and boring pace, an uninteresting way of telling an interesting story. This was a snooze fest at the theaters, and if you're interested in this film, I would highly recommend you wait to watch this film at home. Do not spend your money going out to see this movie. Do not witness this in theaters. There's nothing to be in a rush for when it comes to The Order 2024. And with that being said, let's go ahead and drop my official rating for The Order. I would go ahead and give this film a 4 out of 10. It gets the 4 out of 10, guys. I never want to see this movie ever again. If I never see this movie again, it would be too soon. We needed a stronger script here, a better way of telling such a great story that I feel like needs to be told and that people need to hear about, but not in this way. You'd probably have more intrigue in this story just researching it yourself rather than watching this movie, to be quite honest. And with that being said, that wraps up our movie review for The Order, and I'm curious to know what you guys thought about this film down in the comment section down below. If you've seen it, let me know your opinion on it. If you haven't seen it, let me know if you are going to see it or if you're going to wait to watch it at home like I recommended. And with that being said, guys, if you don't know what we do here on Demigod ENT, we do film and TV reactions and reviews and other movie-based content. So if you're interested in any of this movie-based content, you're in the right place. Hit subscribe, hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you in the next movie review, guys. Peace.